Time for holding transfers is over. Let's push some buttons, make some moves, and see how we're looking for game week 3. Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam, and as always, joined by Baker. How you doing, mate?
Very well, mate. Another eve before another game week, another Friday game week.
Yes, mate. You've been chatting a lot already this week, haven't you? I saw you on the FPL Wire yesterday, which was nice.
Yeah, there's a lot to chat about, isn't it? Like we struggle, sometimes to get out under an hour and a half. We just about, I think, managed to get under 2 hours, or it was about 2 hours yesterday. And we really covered 3 topics, just literally strikers, mids, and at the back.
Yeah,
it's a big week.
It's a big week. Interesting. And with sort of fresh news, like more news coming out, like Salah potentially being interested in a move to Saudi as well. I said it last week. We were only like 1 injury or 2 injuries away from literally having, like we're very close to like Haaland 14 million, and then like 8 million is where you want to be, bar maybe Rashford. But I mean, we're in that space where actually everyone's available for you now. Like you which is a really.
I don't know how I feel about it.
It's really weird. We've never been in that situation.
I think in a way, I'm not quite sure once it plays through whether we end up with a more template game because everyone can afford the same team, or whether we end up with a more differential game because anyone can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And that's the bit we're going to have to sort of play through. But yeah, it feels really sad if we have basically a £14 million player and then it's 9 or below and nothing in between at all.
I love we've discounted Kev completely, but yeah, when he comes back.
He's certainly not back before Christmas, is he? No. So we know in this first half we're not going to do it. I guess the massive change for the game, and that's why I think if you're on the fence around wildcard or thinking that you're going to go early on it, if we end up with Mo going, I think game week 19 suddenly becomes massive for wildcard.
Okay.
Because you can get to everybody without needing to do big surgery suddenly in your teams. So I think a lot of people will then think, well, I can just keep tapping the buttons and getting there to the team. I'm not going to make as many big changes. I think one of the big things we thought in game week 9 is there's a huge swing for Liverpool. We're going to need to put in £12 million Mo. We won't want to put £8 million Trent, and where we're going to find that money.
Yeah.
But the second you press the sell button on Mo, you've got crap loads to deal with. Do whatever you want.
There's loads of money there to have whatever fun you want. And I mean, in some ways, it's kind of, I don't know whether it feels like it's going to move into that phase where we had last season, where everyone was kind of focused on the doubles. So you are all sort of navigating the same players. And as you said, whether we end up with a more template team, and whether those that are, do make a lot of decisions around effective ownership are going to be, you're going to be swayed more by that than anything else, to be honest. And that does mean people will have influence over decisions as well. There are larger people in the community than us that will have a lot of influence on whether they mean to or not on the decisions that are made through the game, right? So
yeah,
I think I don't know whether to say there's an air of responsibility, because we should all just be making the moves that are best for our team, and if that means that somebody else takes note of that and whatever, then so be it. I'm not calling anyone out. So just be interesting to see how that plays out. So
yeah, the good part is, especially in the midfield, still you can't have them all. It's difficult still to have all the players you want. Like neither of us have got Martinelli, and neither of us got Odegaard. Well, we're going to talk about us in a minute, but hey, you'd love to have them this weekend.
Yeah. Should we move?
And there's plenty that do have them in there.
Yes. Yeah. There are quite a few, and there's people that are, they're not as heavily transferred in as I thought they would be.
Yeah.
Like Saliba's like the most transferred in at this
game.
Point, 340,000, and then Saka, amazingly, 160k.
Yeah. I wonder how many Sakas came in before the Monday night game, though. Probably
quite a few. Yeah, Gabriel's well on his way out. Saka's not on this list, so yeah, probably. But it's still a plum fixture, and it's still a fixture that even without penalties, I mean, like Saka's still a great asset this week. He's still a great player to have. Just wonder, his stock's gone down a little bit in my eyes because I was genuinely looking at him as a captaincy candidate for this week, which is a bit of a shame because people are talking about this perma captain Haaland. I haven't captained Haaland yet, and it's been absolutely fine. And funnily enough, my two captains have scored as many points as Haaland has already. So
exactly, yeah. I think there's still plenty of opportunity to go against it because there's lots of good players. But actually, in a strange way, we're all going to own Haaland now. There's none of that. Oh, maybe because he's more expensive, we won't like. You just take that one off now.
Yeah. What is he now? He actually went up in price, didn't he? Or he was due to?
Actually went up in price, I think. No, he hasn't yet. He hasn't yet.
I was going to say, how the hell does that even happen when you start 85% owned or something like that? He's 91.2.
91.2% owned. Is what it is.
Right. Let's so we've got the Arsenal game to talk about. We're going to look at the fixtures if we need to look at the fixtures. I know obviously they've got the Chelsea fixture swing, and then we've got our teams. There's not loads going on at the moment, although I have made a move. Maybe it's more to talk about what moves you're going to make, and I've still got another move that I might make myself as well, which is probably a little bit surprising, I would say, but yeah.
Well,
let's move on to Palace versus Arsenal. We didn't cover this game on Sunday evening because this game was not on Sunday. This was on Monday night. What was your initial take from the game? Pretty much went as expected?
Went as expected. I thought Palace were good. I thought they were a good match for them. If you take out the penalty, they've really restricted Arsenal to not a huge number. 1.2 non-pen XG, pretty solid. Johnston, I would definitely say if I was a Johnston owner right now, I'd be feeling pretty good about it. Huge test for Palace this week at Brentford.
Yeah.
But they're solid. I feel bad for Eze owners. But they kind of knew, a little bit that he was, if you're going to pick him, you're picking him and hoping that he stayed forever. And he could have, there could have been pens.
Yeah, he's had about 40 shots or something stupid by himself so far. I mean, he's had a lot, not 40, but he's had a lot of shots. So
he's dodged some points.
Yeah, certainly has. I mean, Arsenal are a good team. They're good on the ball. They're good at keeping the ball, and you can see it didn't really make much of a difference. They kind of just went into control mode when Tomiyasu went off, and kind of just controlled the rest of the game. Odegaard on penalties. That's a talking point.
It's a talking point, but he's probably never been worse as an asset as well. I would say, when you're watching them play, he very much doesn't look the Odegaard we saw for a lot of the last season, where I felt like he was always involved, had lots of big chances. I feel like almost, I wonder if he is deliberately being a little bit more withdrawn, and that was part of it, was like, well, I want the penalty. Can I have it? Because he's gone out and said he had it.
Did we not have the same issue last year? Didn't Martinelli take a penalty and then everyone went, oh, maybe Saka's off pens, and then Saka just took the next one and took everything else? So
end of season before last.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't at the start of the season. Fair enough. So maybe different.
I don't think Saka's great at pens. Every time I watch it, I'm like, ooh. It's a bit like Mo when I watch him. I'm like, not 100% sure that this is a great penalty taker.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. There's certain players, just the way they. It's weird though, because something that's changed in Saka in the last 18 months is his ability to strike the ball. Like it was early last season, he scored some goal, and it was like a light bulb moment, a flick of switch for me.
Yeah,
and was like, actually no, he's not this, guy that jinks in and out and gets a tap in, does these fancy little cheeky finishes. Like he can strike the ball. So
yeah, but it's not necessarily about striking the ball, is it?
No. Like, it's about composure from 12 yards, right? You need,
most strike the ball perfectly well last week, but
Well,
It,
it didn't look
it,
like most penalty didn't look like a penalty of anyone with any confidence whatsoever. It was like, I'm just
yeah.
going to hit this because I'm not sure that if I go wide as I want to go,
Mm,
whether I'm going to hit the target. So
yeah.
that's one of those. I'm
I'll
going to
go for
hit it and
power
hope
more than
I'm
anything.
going to hit it and hope the
Mm,
keeper dives out of the way is what I want to do. And I've done that before
yeah.
personally as well. I mean, it is a
Oh,
mind
yeah.
block you get. But
It was a good pen as well, but
yeah, good pen as well.
it was a good pen. So I expect he stays on him. But I still don't think it's like 100% that he's on him. If you ask me, like, what is it? I'd say like 75-25. And I do think it's similar to the Watkins situation. I wouldn't surprise me if, for example, let's say that Saka's already got a brace. Saka will take that penalty,
Okay.
and I think that'd be the same at Watkins. You know, if they've already scored and the game's already sewn up, it would not surprise me at all to still see Ollie or Saka turn up and take one.
Was he off before?
But
He must have been off before the penalty yesterday. Then Watkins. Did he get subbed off
yeah,
just before it?
yeah, he came off 68 minutes or something like that. He was done.
Oh,
Hat trick and
and
off.
the penalty was 74. Yeah, so he literally.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, came off at 69, penalty 74. Yeah, so literally just came off. Fair enough.
yeah. You can't bet on it. You can't bet that, hey, the game's in the bag and all of that stuff. But I don't. It doesn't feel like it's like a set in stone. This is now owed on penalties for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So I think we're in agreement because we're talking about wild cards and stuff like that. You've mentioned game week 19 wild card. A lot of people still looking, talking about that second international break wild card. People on the first, people looking at maybe like a surgery, but maybe don't want to make the decision just yet. Maybe they just want 1 more week or 2 more weeks of having some fun. Would you put Nketiah in short term? Because we've got Jesus back in training now, which I would assume he doesn't come back before after the international break, but
I don't think anyone's got a player bad enough that they feel it should happen. I think Pedro suddenly, because we've got the NCSO situation, is worth playing this week. So, and then anybody else you've got is worth it as well. I don't see a world in which that's the case. And
do you not see a world where Arsenal put 6 past Fulham?
I do, absolutely, but I don't think we can just pick players for say, I'm going to have one game and then I've got to move on for it. And unless your team is so unbelievably well set up and everything's falling your way, but most people have got a few things. And like, if Ode is on pens, let's just say they win 4-0 and Ode actually is in the middle of the box and he's scoring and then gets a pen and puts it in. Bruno or Rashford to Odegaard next week could suddenly become a real big bandwagon that people move on. And most people have got to Arsenal. That could happen. There is a world where I see that. Suddenly if they look great, you bring him in. They've got Everton in game week 5. Ode's the captain. He's the minutes monster. He could just make himself our new Bruno.
I'd find it difficult.
He got 200 points, mate. He got 200 points last season.
Yeah, I know. I just
don't think
people will do. I just don't think people will do that when they. I just can't see people moving from Rashford or Bruno to Odegaard when they play United. I just think there's probably a better fixture in game week 4 for someone. I mean, if you haven't got to Foden, assuming you've already got to Foden, right? I mean, if you haven't got to Foden already, you just do that move. Like, I wouldn't even consider Odegaard or whatever. I just do that move.
It does play in my brain that this is a 200-point player that's now got pens, and he could just beat Bruno of a couple of seasons back. But we don't know what we don't know. Like, we know so little still after 2 games.
Yeah, we are still guessing a bit.
Yeah,
we are still guessing. Okay, but I mean, we're not picking Palace players, but they're definitely not a team to target, and they've got decent fixtures for the next 3 out of the next 4. Well, the Brentford game's going to be tough, but Wolves home, Villa away, then Fulham, away at United, and then home Forest. I mean, these are fine. If the only problem with Eze is I think he's a good asset for the next few weeks, but I think there's probably just slightly better ones.
There's too many explosive assets out there right now.
And just again, Bumo being him, talisman, and it's not a stretch to a Foden. It's interesting to see. I think people will start to keep hold of Brighton assets now. People just ride that wave,
I think they can still get flaky pretty quickly. Like, I'm sure if they're brilliant again against West Ham this week, but I do feel like everyone's like, if they even have one bad game, I would suddenly be like, oh, I can move them.
See Newcastle keeping a clean sheet, and it's going to be an exodus type thing.
Yeah,
against them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Trippier has one good game, and that's it. Like Stupiñán's in the bid.
Done.
Yeah. People would be finding the money in that, or already have the money. And Matoma to Bumo, I can still see it being a very popular move in game week 4.
Yeah. Should we look at those fixtures, or just to see whether there's anything else we want to look at? I mean, as you say, that you could get ahead of the game a little bit with the Newcastle ones. They only conceded like 1 XG to City away from home. That's low. That's really low. Considering Haaland didn't Haaland average 1 XG on his own last year?
Yeah, pretty much at home. Yeah, they were solid. They were solid, and I knew we were going to probably end up talking about Trippier on the wire yesterday. So I had a little look at him, thinking, because in my brain, he's now 33. They've bought Livramento, so maybe there's rotation. We've got Europe Cup. I'm trying to tell things in my brain of, is he worth 6.5 million? He's still got the most baseline of any defender after 2 game weeks, comfortably. He's still getting, I think, 22 and 19 in his first 2 games, and that includes a game against City. And that's without attacking returns. So it's still in a situation where he could easily be on for a 12-pointer the second he gets an assist.
Yeah.
And so I think everyone should still have a Trippier plan for game week 5. And Brighton, like I say, you look at this on here, there's some odd games in there. You've got game week 10 home to Fulham, you've got game week 6 home to Bournemouth, and you've got this weekend. But realistically, we don't know. We don't know, if suddenly we have that barren run. If it doesn't work out this weekend, you can suddenly see their foundation suddenly being a little bit more shaky on their assets.
I definitely think move. I think if I had 3 at this point, I'd already looked to move one on, and I would have already made that move on João Pedro, even though we know what we know, which is Enciso is struggling. But I would still make that move ahead of. I would have probably done like a João Pedro to Wissa move or a João Pedro to Alvarez type move already, because you don't want to be massively exposed when that Newcastle game comes and you've got 3 Brighton assets.
Yeah.
Like in what world are you starting 3 Brighton assets? I know it's at home, but against Newcastle, you're not starting 3. Surely.
No.
I mean, no. I suppose you may do. I mean, like the Arsenal United thing, you could. Yeah, but you like benching Sakas and Rashfords and stuff. This season already is so bizarre. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I've made one transfer and I could feasibly put Salah on my bench and it would look absolutely fine. It's so fucking stupid.
Next week, I've probably got a decision between the Stupiñán and Saliba for who sits on my bench, and I'm like, that's tough. That's a really tough decision.
Saliba, short. Well,
you almost feel like I'm going to do Saliba, but am I United? It's
yeah.
It's going to be some tough calls. It's going to be some tough calls going in the next few weeks, which is cool. Bar that. So Mo, let's talk about that, because that's in there for you. You've still got him as we speak.
Correct.
If Klopp says, I know nothing, I reckon that's what he'll say tomorrow. I don't know anything about it. Mo's our player. He's really important to us. I don't want to sell him. Are you tempted to sell tomorrow?
I'm still tempted to sell tomorrow, mainly because of the players that I want rather than the player that I'm losing, more than anything. And as you said, I mean, like if it turns out that Liverpool are still this smashing attack, which they're a good attack, but that is my light falling over. But yeah, if it turns out they're still this amazing attack, right, then it's going to be Jota or Diaz that's going to be the one that we really want. I think that's what we're gonna end up finding out. And
especially if none of them have pens. Like if none of them have pens, if we just think that McAllister takes the next pen.
Yeah.
I hope they ask them the question tomorrow. I really hope they ask that. Yeah, if that and if that gets asked and they say McAllister taking the next pen,
I'd probably just
like,
yeah.
Dig. Press the button immediately.
Yeah. In you come, Phil.
Yeah. And then I just think like suddenly you've got a crap load of money. And then you can do whatever you want the next few weeks.
It's so stupid how much money you've got. I mean, hilariously, I heard Sam talking about Pap Sarr earlier, and I was thinking, oh, if I did a Salah to Sarr, I'd have extra 8 million in my bank, just for shits and giggles. And there's nothing. I mean, he's not going to be the best asset to own, but
everyone this week's been on about, oh, I'm going to get Archer. He's going to be a 4.5 million starting striker, and you're like,
don't need it. You just don't need it.
It's a good bench option, but who cares? Like nobody's going to need it.
Nobody's going to need it. Yeah.
So
we literally like we have a Salah that's leaving. Let's say we have De Bruyne who's injured. We have Son who's not right in the system. We've got Rashford. This is just going down in price order. Rashford hasn't fired yet, mainly because United don't have a striker. Bruno hasn't fired yet. Underlyings are okay, fine. I will caveat again that Bruno's chance for Rashford.
What's the point?
Trent, yeah. Trent, Soboslai's there, and then you move into Odegaard and the Sakas of this world, and we haven't started Europe yet, right? Yeah. That Brighton turn of fixtures is like Chelsea are the key to unlocking everything, right? I feel like Chelsea are the key. Because that third Chelsea spot is just up there now. It's just there. It's just there waiting for someone to grab it.
I do get a sneaky feeling that Trent and Trippier are going to start making their way back into our teams very shortly. I think there's every chance we'll take risks on those.
Yeah.
And we'll have the money to do so.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. Well, so you've made a move.
Start talking about our teams. But before we start talking about our teams, what I was just going to say is if you do like the content, please make sure you do like the video. And if you want to see more from Baker and myself, please make sure you hit subscribe. We do an Off the Weekend podcast on a Sunday evening. It's a live stream on YouTube. Come join us. Come check us out. And come and join in with the chat on there. We go through all the games, etc., etc. And if you want a more sort of close, tight-knit chat, not so much like an echo chamber, which Twitter and very, very many places can be like, come and join our Discord, patreon.com/aboveaveragefpl. Yeah, that's all I have really to add there.
And join that.
Join the league. The league code is in all the other slides apart from this one. The code is 1Feb93. And if you're watching this on Friday, before the deadline, you'll notice just above me here is a new bit of artwork, Lucas Moura, from when he scored that goal out in Amsterdam. So it's from Pitch AR, and the concept is essentially there's a QR code on there. I can go up there whenever I want. I can scan it, and what it'll bring up is an animated recreation of that moment, that goal. At the moment, they've got 5 products. They've got the Messi holding up the shirt when he scored against Real Madrid. They've got the Ronaldo bicycle kick against, I don't know who it was against, but it was for Juve, I think, in that Champions League, that Real Madrid Champions League winning season. Who else have they got? They've got Trent from the Barcelona game, and they've got the Lucas one, and I'm probably missing the one. Wayne Rooney against City, the bicycle kick as well. So they've got 5
lovely.
excellent moments in football history. Really, really cool. Go check the tweet out that I've tweeted, and we're giving away 2 of those after the deadline. So retweet, like, follow myself, follow the podcast Above Average FPL, and follow Pitch AR UK as well.
I did want to give one shout out. I looked at our mini league earlier.
Do it.
And somebody, the highest player that hasn't played any chips, I'm going to go for Biplav Katiwada.
Good effort.
Ranked 420th.
Shout out to you.
Captained Wissa last week.
Good work.
As Leon Bailey, March, and Odegaard in the midfield.
That's the best midfield ever.
Those, honest, and Matoma. So Odegaard, March, Matoma, and Bailey.
Wow.
The midfield alone got 52 points from those four.
Better than my entire squad.
And then Captain Wissa, 99 pointer last week. What a man.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully he stays there. Hopefully he or she stays there. Yeah. So let's move on to my pile of crap team then. My team doesn't look that good. Points, win prizes and all that. So teams coming up as per usual, they come from FPL.team. So go check that website out for all of your FPL planning. No change. Well, one change you may notice. I moved early on the Madison news and I've brought in Big Brian Boomo. He is
Brian Boomo.
He is in.
Well, you're keeper right here. Surely you're playing Pickford over Turner.
Pickford. Yeah, that's just laziness.
Yeah.
That's just laziness. So Pickford, Chilwell, Colwill, Saliba, Mitoma, Bruno, Saka, Salah, Boomo, João Pedro and Haaland. Turner on a bench, Udogie, Kabore and Archer. I don't like Udogie on the bench with Bournemouth. I don't like it. So, that's why you could just change him for Salah and everything would be fine.
I think he's a great first bench. I've got him first bench current at the moment. If he came in, I'd be over the moon. And I think he's a good play from next week. So yeah, from next week, I imagine I'll be playing him for the next 2 weeks. But let's just enjoy the clean sheet and the Tottenham points as he sits on our bench.
We're not going to go into a Tottenham love-in now because we don't want to do that. But without Maddison in front of him, it could expose him a little bit more as well. So, if he puts Gio in there.
Tottenham are just hard on it. I do think on Gio, when we played in pre-season with him, Gio moves the ball quicker than Maddison. If there's one thing he does do is he pushes it. Maddison can slow the ball down a little bit because he wants to hog it. Gio takes one touch and moves. So I think for Son and Rich, there is a potential that Gio could work just as well, if not put them forward, in a quicker position. So I don't think it's the end of the world for Richarlison and for Son owners, if there's any that out there. I think there's quite a few Richarlison owners out there.
Yeah.
But Maddison's just been heart and soul of our team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's... And we're getting rid of him. We're both getting rid of him, aren't we?
Yeah. Getting rid of...
Well, you already have.
Madison.
You already got rid of Maddison.
Yeah, he's gone. He's already gone. Yeah, no, he's already gone. So look, he can come back later on. I'm going to have 6 million in the bank soon. So yeah, that's it. You change Salah out to Foden here, and it's just like, that's ridiculous. Like, it just looks ridiculous at that point.
Yeah.
And to note that every player is playing at home bar Haaland as well, who's got Sheffield United.
Yeah, it's a pretty magical team.
And Saka, unfortunately, not a captain option, I don't think, anymore. Just because... Pens. Bruno, you just wanted him to score points. The problem with that is that Forest defended really well in a low block against Arsenal. And if they get camped in, I still think they'll be okay.
I do.
And yeah, no, not for Boomo. Chilwell's an option, but 60 minutes last week was just a killer. Like, just comes off after 60, and you're like, well, okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's too risky. It's too risky now. So Haaland cap, stay with it.
Yeah. On to you, my friend.
So I've not made the moves as yet. Held fire despite the price rises.
I've left Turner in goal for you as well, mate.
Oh, nice. So I'll have a Nana in goal, not Turner. Estupinan, Chilwell, and Saliba at the back. At the moment, I've got Saka, Maddison, Rashford, Matoma, and Bruno. And then I've got Captain Haaland and Ollie Watkins. Same Udogie on the bench with Archer and Kabore. Maddison will definitely go to Foden.
Yeah.
I made my mind on that one over Bumo, unless some madness happens tomorrow and we find out he's not playing, or which I don't see that happening. But it doesn't look like either are going to move again in price this evening, so I can wait on that one until tomorrow. So I will. Then the question is, do I keep 2 transfers back, or do I move Ollie Watkins? And that's the tough call. I do think there's a potential that I want a little bit of money. So looking at Trippier, for example, and I don't exactly know. I'm imagining Bumo I will want in game week 4. I can't see. I feel like I can potentially get away. I think Palace is good, potentially get away with this weekend, but I don't think I can get away with it for long. He's going to shit points all season. And then I'd have a decision to make about whether it's one of the Man United guys or whether it's Matoma.
So you're thinking Jackson then for Watkins?
Yeah, I
because
think it will.
Otherwise, I mean, if you were going to bring a Brentford player in this week, as you say, you know, you just mentioned Bumo game week 4, which just says to me straight away you don't fancy Wissa. Same reasons, right? Palace, half decent defense. I get that, and having just brought in Bumo, I get that.
Yeah. I don't really fancy that, and I definitely think I will have them, and I'm still not 100% convinced. Although I think he's legit, I'm not convinced in having the double up. It seems like they're linked to another attacker who looks like he would play on the right, and I'm like, what if he go? I mean, if they sign another guy who ends up playing on the right, and then suddenly Bumo goes right up top, then it's even more no-brainer. But it's another man.
I saw that. Who was that?
Can't remember his name.
I thought I recognised the name.
It was quite a long name. That's
it was quite a long name.
It's the insight you're looking for on this channel.
Keep talking, I'll find it.
It put me off Wissa a little bit. I'm not 100% convinced that I want Alvarez. I'd rather keep Watkins than go Alvarez, I think, in that sense, and really, really dive in. Mainly as well, as much as the triple up could work on it, it's just a lot of eggs in the basket, and it's a lot of eggs in the basket when you've got Europe coming in a couple of weeks. It's not for me. I'd rather keep Ollie. But the Jackson one, it's hard to ignore the fixture. It really is. And I think I'll just end up going back to Ollie at some point in the near future, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
it feels like you're wasting transfers going in and back in and back forth, but hey, we'll do it again.
I can't find this guy because they're looking at selling Tony for 80 million apparently. I think it's Nico Gonzalez. Was that the name?
I don't even know now.
From Fiorentina.
I don't even know now. Maybe. Yeah, Fiorentina, maybe. It sounds about right.
Big Fab's tweeted about it, but okay, cool. So that's where we are.
So I'm expecting it'll be Jackson and Foden in. I ignored the price rise on Foden the other day. It's funny, isn't it? You can kind of let one go, but then you're like, well, if both my people I want to bring in are going to move on price, then you get a bit twitchier. So I could well do Jackson in about 10 minutes' time.
That's true, because it's almost your bedtime, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. 9:30, mate.
Yeah, cool. Well, mate, good luck for game week 3, I guess. I don't think we've got anything else to add.
Yeah, we're not too
anything else. Don't think there's anything else to add at this point. So I know I've only just mentioned it a few minutes ago, but yeah, come join us on Sunday and celebrate, commiserate, whatever you want to do. Throw us some abuse, not too much abuse, but get involved in the banter, involved in the chat, and hopefully we'll have a good game week. And
we're not the channel where we're going to keep telling you like we're this rank, so you should follow us and do these ones. We don't throw that. You notice on the screen, haven't got our rank on there and all of those type of things. And it's mainly because that's not what we're here for. We're here to tell you this is how we see the game, and you can make your own decisions.
Might also be because we've never been in the top 10K. Maybe.
No, that's we're newbies though, aren't we? We're none of that. Oh, I've been playing and I've got 9.
No, this is true. We've only actually taken it seriously for a few years. Yeah, this is true. This is true. So come join us.
engagement.
Come join us. Join the chat. Get involved in the competition. You know, drop us a follow on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube. Do all the amazing stuff that we would love you to do, and it doesn't cost you anything to do. That'd be great.
Bro.
Have a good one,
See
mate.
you Sunday, mate.
Cheers, mate.